Distinguished guests, esteemed scholars, respected colleagues, and citizens of the world, today I invite you to join me on an intellectual and emotional journey, a journey through history, geography, politics, and human experience, as we seek to understand one of the most provocative and often misunderstood questions of our time: is Pakistan really behind Pahalgam? At first glance, the question may appear simple, almost rhetorical, yet beneath it lies an intricate web of history, territorial claims, religious sentiment, nationalism, and decades of political maneuvering. Pahalgam, a serene town nestled within the breathtaking valleys of Jammu and Kashmir, is not merely a dot on a map. It is a symbol of cultural identity, a battleground of narratives, and a reflection of the broader Indo-Pakistani conflict that has shaped South Asian geopolitics since 1947. When we ask whether Pakistan is behind Pahalgam, we must unpack what behind truly means. Does it refer to territorial control, ideological influence, economic intervention, or is it a metaphor for political manipulation and propaganda? In exploring this, we must venture through layers of history, colonial legacies, wars, diplomacy, religious movements, insurgency, tourism, and the role of global superpowers. The story begins with the partition of British India in 1947, an event that redefined South Asia's destiny. The British departure created two dominions, India and Pakistan, but left Kashmir as a princely state with the option to join either. Maharaja Hari Singh, the Hindu ruler of a Muslim-majority state, initially sought independence, yet as tribal militias from Pakistan's northwest frontier province invaded Kashmir in October 1947, the Maharaja requested India's military assistance, agreeing to the instrument of accession with India. This decision sealed Kashmir's formal integration into India, but also lit the fuse for decades of tension. Pakistan never accepted the accession, claiming it was made under duress. India, on the other hand, saw it as legally binding and final. Three wars, 1947-48, 1965, and 1971, countless skirmishes, and a prolonged insurgency later, the region remains divided, with Pakistan-administered territories, Azad Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan on one side, and Indian-administered Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh on the other. Pahalgam, located firmly within Indian-administered territory in the Anantnag district, has always remained under Indian control, yet its symbolic and emotional significance often draws it into narratives of cross-border involvement, especially during discussions about militancy and propaganda emanating from Pakistan. Before politics overshadowed its peace, Pahalgam was, and remains, a sanctuary of natural beauty. The name Pahalgam, derived from Kashmiri words meaning village of shepherds, reflects its pastoral origins. The Lidar River flows through its lush meadows, pine forests, and snow-capped mountains. It is one of the base camps for the Amarnath Yatra, a sacred Hindu pilgrimage to the Amarnath cave, where devotees revere the naturally formed ice lingam of Lord Shiva. For centuries, Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs coexisted in this region, participating together in festivals, trade, and agriculture. Kashmiri Muslims regarded the pilgrimage with respect, often serving as guides and caretakers. Such shared harmony reflected the essence of Kashmiriyat, a unique cultural philosophy of mutual respect, tolerance, and spiritual synthesis. However, as the political landscape hardened after 1947, even this spiritual haven began to feel the tremors of geopolitical tension. To claim that Pakistan is behind Pahalgam requires unpacking what that truly entails. Pakistan's direct territorial claim has historically focused on the entire region of Jammu and Kashmir, not specifically Pahalgam. Yet Pakistan's influence, particularly through religious, ideological, and militant channels, has reached deep into various parts of the Kashmir Valley since the late 1980s. The 1989 insurgency insurgency, spurred by disenchantment with political governance, electoral manipulation, and cross-border encouragement, transformed the valley into a militarized zone. During this period, numerous groups with ideological, logistical, and financial links to Pakistan, such as Lashkar-e-Taiba, Hizbul Mujahideen, and Jaish-e-Mohammed, began operating in the region. While Pahalgam itself remained more tranquil than towns like Sopore or Pulwama, it was not immune. Attacks targeting tourists, pilgrims, and local residents occasionally surfaced, attributed to militants trained across the border. The Indian government and intelligence agencies have, for decades, maintained that Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence (ISI) has played an instrumental role in sustaining separatist sentiments and supporting militant operations in the valley. Yet to equate all unrest or political sentiment in Pahalgam with Pakistani involvement would be an oversimplification. Local grievances, unemployment, environmental neglect, and political disillusionment have also contributed to the complex emotional terrain of the region. Pahalgam's prominence is not due to strategic military importance, but rather its symbolic role in India's religious and national consciousness. As one of the main bases for the Amarnath Yatra, it represents India's spiritual connection to Kashmir, a connection that directly challenges narratives seeking to portray Kashmir as exclusively Muslim or detached from India's civilizational identity. Thus, from a Pakistani strategic or propagandist viewpoint, unrest in Pahalgam can serve as an ideological instrument. Disruptions during the Amarnath Yatra, whether through terrorist attacks, misinformation campaigns, or protests, resonate powerfully across India. They evoke emotional reactions, amplify polarization, and fuel nationalistic rhetoric. In this sense, Pakistan's involvement is not necessarily territorial, but psychological. The objective may not be to capture Pahalgam, but to influence India's perception of security and harmony within Kashmir. Information warfare, social media propaganda, and cross-border narratives play a critical role in this strategy, creating a fog of confusion that benefits extremist elements on both sides. The 21st century has ushered in a new battlefield, one not fought with tanks or rifles, but with tweets, videos, and doctored images. In this digital war, Pahalgam becomes a recurring motif in both Indian and Pakistani narratives. Pro-Pakistan accounts often highlight alleged human rights violations, military presence, and restrictions on the movement of Kashmiri civilians in areas like Pahalgam. On the other hand, Indian media outlets emphasize Pakistan's role in fostering militancy and destabilizing peace, especially during sensitive times like the Amarnath pilgrimage. Between these two extremes lies the truth, often obscured, layered, and politicized. While Pakistani influence in the form of propaganda is undeniable, local realities cannot be ignored. Young Kashmiris frustrated by limited opportunities or political stagnation sometimes fall prey to radical messaging online, messaging often traced back to cross-border sources. Thus, Pakistan being behind Pahalgam today might refer more to ideological infiltration than territorial ambition. Beyond religious and political dimensions, the question also has economic implications. Tourism is the lifeline of Pahalgam. The Amarnath Yatra alone generates thousands of jobs and sustains the local economy. Pakistan's hostility, particularly through security threats or militant disruptions, indirectly harms this economic stability, thereby weakening India's narrative of normalcy in Kashmir. The logic is simple yet powerful. If tourism suffers, investment declines. If investment declines, local discontent rises, creating fertile ground for anti-India sentiments. Such dynamics have been observed repeatedly. Each time the Yatra faces attacks or cancellations due to security alerts, the socio-economic fabric of Pahalgam frays slightly more. India, aware of this vulnerability, has increased military presence, improved surveillance, and expanded infrastructure to reassure pilgrims and tourists. Yet this also feeds Pakistan's narrative of militarization and occupation, a cycle both nations seem trapped in. To understand Pahalgam's truth, we must listen to its people. Interviews, ethnographic studies, and media reports reveal a spectrum of emotions. Many locals express deep pride in their heritage and a desire for peace. They resent violence and view Pakistan's involvement as exploitative, an interference that disrupts their livelihoods and harmony. Yet there also exists a smaller segment that feels alienated, perceiving Pakistan as a spiritual ally or ideological sympathizer. This divide mirrors the broader conflict in the valley, a tension between pragmatic coexistence and romanticized separatism. The youth, especially, oscillate between despair and hope. While some join the tourism industry, others fall prey to radicalization due to unemployment or political frustration. It is in this psychological space that Pakistan's influence seeks to grow, through religious rhetoric, online propaganda, and selective funding of separatist elements. India's response to Pakistani influence in Kashmir, including regions like Pahalgam, has evolved from purely military containment to multi-dimensional engagement. Post-2019, following the abrogation of Article 370, New Delhi has focused on integrating Jammu and Kashmir more closely into India's administrative and economic framework. Infrastructure projects, tourism promotion, educational reforms, and security restructuring have aimed to normalize life in the region. Pahalgam has been a key beneficiary, with renewed attention to ecotourism, sustainable development, and connectivity. However, skepticism persists. Critics argue that without meaningful political dialogue and local empowerment, economic initiatives alone cannot counter deep-rooted mistrust. Still, from a strategic perspective, a stable and prosperous Pahalgam stands as India's silent answer to Pakistan's provocations.